Chris Buffalo here. I made the video critical cuts setting up a saw station because Dennis and I feel it's important to the overall success of the project. Here you see us standing in front of what I see in most job sites, which is a version of the chop saw sawhorse method. In this picture, Dennis and I are exaggerating the problem with the chop saw sawhorse method in that you have to have something holding up the board on each end. And again, I can hear some of the groans from the craftsmen, but believe it or not, I see a ton of Mickey Mouse setups on the saw station, and it's something that doesn't get thought about in a job site. So we make this quick video to point some things out that the craftsmen master builders do that the other guys don't know about. The problem with the chop saw sawhorse method is that if you don't have the proper bracing, it becomes a two-person job. In this picture, we see again, chop saw sawhorse method, two people operating the saw. Dennis doesn't like to have two people operating a saw because it's a waste of manpower. Here you see a guy that got creative to make a one-man station because he put his chop saw on a table and built braces so this can be a one-man station. However, that's not realistic for a lot of people. And again, I'm using a ladder here, and again, we're kind of poking fun, but I've seen this on job sites, okay? This kind of a deal situation is going to slow you down. It's going to cost more time, and it's going to not be the right outcome that you want for your project. I have the slow-mo video of Dennis chopping down on a board that doesn't have the right weight factored in, okay? It doesn't have the right weight balance. And when he does, the board springs up off the saw. There's no way that's going to be a 90-degree cut. Dennis likes a complete chop saw station along with an aluminum frame and the extenders. This chop saw extends out to 20 feet so it can hold a board. It's got risers coming off the extensions, and it will hold 20 feet so that one man can operate it. On top of each riser, you see rollers so that one man can operate it with his fingertips. Here I've got a video clip of Dennis showing you how easy it is to absolutely have precision control with this chop saw with one man using his fingertips.
One guy can easily take a 20 piece of lumber, stick it on the chop saw, make his mark, and with one hand, he can move it back and forth.
In this next clip, I'm showing you a trick that the master craftsmen do that goes under the radar of some of the other guys. In that when these guys make a cut, and Dennis does this too, when they make a cut on one end of the board, they automatically make a cut on the other end of the board. And the reason you do this is twofold. One, those cuts will be exactly 90 degrees, so they're going to be easier to line up with your trim and your windows and stuff. And two, when you're end sealing, you want to open that grain up so it takes more stain into the end. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a guy chop a 10-footer and coat the one end that's fresh, but not chop the other end. So that's not going to be a 90 degree. And it's not going to take the end sealing. So the master craftsman chop both sides.
Okay, so they're taking time. Every cut he makes, he seals the butt end. I'm going to show you, he's going to make a cut here. They're taking their time, they're moving slow because you have to be exact. You can't make any mistakes because anything you do comes back to bite you. So he just made a cut. He's going to take that rag, he's going to seal the end. Again, taking the time to do it right. Each end is sealed as it's cut. And they're going to go over there and remeasure it again. So
Another thing that doesn't get talked about and goes under the radar again of the inexperienced is keeping the chop saw in the line of sight of the installers. Again, two reasons you do this. Number one, the chop saw guy can anticipate the lengths and kind of be ready for those guys. And number two, especially on a clear cedar install, it's nice to have the guy 20 feet back from the actual install so that because when you want uniformity, you're trying to blend lights and darks. And so the chop saw guy 20 feet back has a much better line of sight with the eye to tell if that light and dark is a little bit jarring because sometimes the installers are up too close. So the chop saw guy acts as a spotter and an anticipator, and he facilitates the entire process. Now, as this project progresses around the house, you move that real light framed aluminum right around the house with it. So the chop saw station follows the installers all the way around the house. So this last clip I took in time-lapse photography because it's at the very beginning of the install. So these craftsmen, that's the guy who cut both ends, and this is the same Washington install. These guys are setting up to get their cuts right. They're setting up to get their nail gun pressures right because they're going to use a nail gun and tap it in. I'll talk about that in the nailing video. But they're taking a lot of time at the beginning because, you know, after you start doing it, you'll get into rhythm. But at the beginning, you got to kind of take your time, do precision. And so these guys are sending boards back and measuring and cutting. You know, it took them probably 45 minutes to install these 10 courses of boards. But as the project goes, it'll gain a little bit of momentum because they'll start to get into rhythm and it'll start to be easier. And the saw station guy will kind of get greased. And so after the whole thing is said and done, having that saw station properly set up and following the installers around the house will probably net you a good 10% extra productivity.